And joining us now on the line, as he often does when we're lucky, Tucker Carlson, editor of the Daily Caller and co-host of Fox and Friends on the Weekend. Good morning to you, Tucker.
Oh, good morning, gentlemen.
All right, so I want to start off by the president did this interview on a podcast, and he used the N-word, and he says that racism is in America's DNA. What do you have to say about that, Tucker?
Well, it's a politically expedient position for him to take, because basically he's saying racism is a one-way proposition. It's committed by people who, by the way, didn't actually vote for me. Yeah. And there's nothing that we can do to end it. It's permanent. You may not even feel racist feelings in your heart or commit racist acts, but you are still racist. It's an indelible stain. You can't wash it out. And again, he's talking about people who didn't vote for him. So, it's almost unbelievable that everyone else sort of sits back and accepts this. Someone should stand up and say, well, wait a second. Give me, a list of manifestations of racism. Is it only one way? Is it, are white people the only group capable of racism? I mean, I don't know. Nobody wants a real discussion on the subject. There's racism in America. Obviously, it's distressing, of course. But nobody is capable of having a direct, honest conversation about it.
Yeah, I agree, Tucker. And well, when you say, none of them voted for him, only those that, you said it only goes one way. Yes, white racists did not vote for President Obama, but there are plenty of black racists that voted for him.
Of course, no, but my point is, he's basically making a very general statement and damning statement about white America that's unfair. Yeah. It's actually not a racist country. They elected a black president twice with the majority of the popular vote. You would think that would, that doesn't prove that there's no racism. There is racism, but that proves it's not a fundamentally racist country.
As a nation, as a society, and through our government, we have overcome racism, inherent racism that was part of our nation, more than any other country on the planet. I mean,
of course, and what he's saying is it'll never be enough. Give me more power.
Yes. This really was a power move.
But you are absolutely right about one thing. I mean, if you want to find evidence that the United States has made great progress in the issue of race relations, the president need only look in a mirror. I mean, he was elected, and then he was reelected.
Well, exactly.
How does that happen in a racist nation?
I mean, a couple of my reporters were beaten pretty severely for being in Baltimore while white. Yeah. That's my take on it anyway. I don't have, hard evidence of that. I believe that to be true. I'm not whining about it. I'm merely noting that the issue of racism is much more complex than President Obama would have you believe. In his world, it's 1956. The Klan is still marching. They're still burning cross on people's front lawns. No, actually, there's been a great deal of progress, and it's a much more complicated question than it was 50 years ago.
Tucker, over at your great website, The Daily Caller, your great reporter, Patrick Howley, has a really interesting revelation that he's uncovered about our good friend David Brock over at Media Matters for America. And you've been, I love that chuckle, you've been one of the best people in this town to really expose what they're doing over there at Media Matters and all of the insidious commingling of funds between, this group is supposed to be a 501c3, doing real partisan attacks against conservatives and Republicans. He said in an op-ed apparently that his group is defending Hillary Clinton over the Benghazi affair and other things. How is that a problem? What did Patrick Howley discover here about him revealing that Media Matters defends Hillary Clinton?
Well, because its goal is not, as nonprofits are supposed to, are charged with doing, to uncover the truth or to, add important information to the public discussion, to be an educational foundation. Their goal is merely to protect the political fortunes of one person, Hillary Clinton. And that's, by the way, obvious to anybody who's paid any attention at all.
Right.
If it's a contest between Hillary and Obama, Media Matters will savagely attack Obama. They really are just this sort of Praetorian Guard, an unarmed one, whose goal is to, watch over Hillary Clinton. It's bizarre, actually. It's a weird life mission to have, but that is David Brock's life mission for sure.
And yet, it's a 501c3, and they admitted that as much that's what they're there for. But it's a 501c3, which you're not supposed to be involved in political operations.
No, of course not. Of course not. And it's also indefensible on its face. How is defending one person, right or wrong, adding, to the sum total of educational knowledge in this country? Is that really in the public good. I mean, and also, by the way, why should a group like that have tax exemption? Why should the rest of us, in effect, be subsidizing? I don't know. But I'm sure the Lois Lerner's replacement is not going to be bothering.
Tucker, you're a California guy. You and I think both grew up at a time when the Confederate flag didn't mean a whole lot to us in Southern California.
I didn't know what it was.
It was the decoration on the Dukes of Hazzard car. That's all I knew about it. But however, obviously it's a major deal right now. The change of tone that you heard from South Carolina politicians like Nikki Haley and Lindsey Graham yesterday, suggesting that it is time to remove it from the Capitol grounds. Do you think that's a positive step for the Republican Party?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't know. I think it's a meaningless step. I mean, my own, as you said, I have no really strong feelings about the Confederate flag. I think if it's offensive to some some Southern taxpayers, they shouldn't have to pay for it, to subsidize it on the Capitol grounds. I don't think people should have to pay for things that enrage them or violate their principles generally. So, yeah, that's fine, remove it. But the idea that these murders by this crazy person, this horrible tragedy, is a sign that we need to remove the Confederate flag, or that removing the Confederate flag will, I don't know, somehow make America a much better place, I'm skeptical. And more than that, I'm bothered by the desire of the press to turn everything into a metaphor for something else. Like, isn't it enough that 9 people were murdered at a Bible study? It's like the worst story of the year. All of a sudden, that needs to be a statement about something else? No. Let's pause and reflect on the sadness of these individuals losing their lives. It's not about the Confederate flag. It's about them being killed by one guy specifically. Not murdered by white America generally. I mean, come on.
I think it's time for the flag to go, and I support what's being done there. But I mean, it
is right. That's fine. I kind of agree.
Yeah, but it is interesting that we have a tragedy, a horrific tragedy that occurs in South Carolina, and literally the police have not even put up the crime tape. And you have people out there saying, well, we need gun control. We got to do something about the flag. It seems like they're just sitting there waiting for any little tragedy so that they can glom onto it for their own political benefit.
Well, on gun control, the question that no one will answer is, okay, what specific piece of gun control legislation would have prevented this from happening? Tell me. And, of course, there isn't one. It has nothing to – they want more control over people. They don't think people ought to be able to defend themselves. The right – of self-defense, of that level of autonomy makes them nervous in the first place. So they're using this as a chance to take it away.
Tucker, we're going to do a quick segment here real fast about how social media has sort of made it really rough on guys proposing marriage, because it's got to be on YouTube and it's got to be huge and special and produced. How did you propose to Mrs. Carlson, the fabulous and beautiful, talented Mrs. Carlson?
Well, I was in college, actually. When I proposed, because I felt like, boy, this isn't working, this whole college thing. I should get married and become an adult, which was a good call, actually. I proposed to her in a super complicated way in front of a couple of my roommates, one of whom is now my business partner 25 years later, weirdly. But it's so bizarre that I can't explain it on the radio.
But you had a big elaborate plan, though. You did the
whole...
It
wasn't really. It was more, there was probably alcohol involved. So that means it was big but not elaborate.
No, and that actually solves the question that many of us has asked. What on earth was she thinking? Clearly, she was intoxicated. Right. Tucker Carlson, thanks for joining us as always, Fred.